to do it. Oh God. Should I ask this question? What do you think I'm addicted to? Currently, the title doesn't have it. This ought to be good, especially all the internet trolls out there that like to leave comments on random strangers' videos, and then there's the people that know me, and everywhere in between. So, yeah, leave a comment. Leave a comment if you feel like leaving a comment. I bet the people who know me won't leave a comment. The people who don't will. What is it about that? What is it about that? Easier to talk to strangers than to talk to friends. Some people feel that way. Heart's pounding. Oh, why is that? Maybe because I just did 50 push-ups. No. So, title, always got to look what I end up throwing this at. I'm addicted. The resistance is strong. Gonna cover a few things here. Maybe I should leave the hook as that and leave you in suspense about what that is and about the resistance first. I wake up most days somewhere between about 4:30 and 6 a.m. Today I woke up at I think about 5:30. And in the morning when I wake up on bike rides and in showers, I get these hits, these sparks of ideas. And in those sparks of ideas, curious if you have them too. Um, a lot I can forget very quickly. Others stick with me. And some are very empowering and some are not. And so one of those things is to get on here. Like this is one of those things. Get on here. And it seems like on Facebook, one of my best performing was F this title. You need a pep talk. I got you. And then when I feel like I'm a little bit more like intentional about it, those may not. And it's such an interesting thing. And so today I got on here, or my brain had this sparked idea, and it was I'm addicted, or I'm a addict, or I'm a ick. There's something ick or a addict. What are those icks? And I was trying to think, well, which one do I want to put this with? How do I want to say it? And how do I want to talk about it to leave people in suspense for those who are still listening and curious? And even as I'm sitting here right now, I'm going, which one do I want to say? Because which is stronger? Is it this? Or is it something on this? And I think as I say this, it's a combination of both. I was going to say a content-aholic, a phone addict. It's interesting. There was, I think it's Buddha, or Dalai Lama, or some kind of Sama, in the Himalayas. But there's a story where this mom goes with her kid to see blank, call him Buddha, the Dalai Lama. You guys can look it up. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one it was. Could be a combination of all because it's probably made up. And they get there and the mom's describing, my son needs to get off all this sugar, da, 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 da. And the blank says, come back next week. And that's all that the blank says. And they go the whole track, this whole thing to get there. And then they come back the next week and some version of, son, you need to get off sugar. And the mom's livid. She's like, what on planet Earth couldn't you have told us that last week? Like, why did you send us back, have us come back again, go through this whole journey so you could just say that? Like, are you serious right now? And the moral of the story is that he says, well, last week I was still on sugar. And when I think about getting on here and doing what I do, I often think about, where am I basically a hypocrite and where am I not? And how much is out there that is giving advice with a mask on? And what I mean by giving advice with a mask on is that they appear to be an expert. They appear to, know what they're talking about. But then as you dig in, you realize, who are they to give me advice? Because they're telling me to do something they can't even do themselves. And I think something that has sat with me for a long time is that content, for example, and even social media apps, it's interesting. If you remove something from your life, you know how important it is with how much you miss it when it's gone, when how much you want more of it when it's gone. And I found that you can take Instagram, you can take TikTok, you can take YouTube, and you can take Facebook. Those are probably the main phone apps, social media apps that through the years I've had an addiction to or have spent a disproportionate amount of time in ways that when I look, the only one that still has a version of a stranglehold on me is YouTube. Like the biggest one is YouTube right now. I can delete Facebook, I can delete Instagram, I can delete TikTok, and by and large, I can go check on my desktop a few times a day, and overall it's fine. Like it doesn't I don't have this urge because I think that as a whole those apps I feel like I have a little bit more of the what people I guess call doom scroll. And doom scroll from this just like I just take the phone out anytime, anywhere, any place, any whatever, and I just get on and I look and I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I want to do. I probably don't engage much with anything. And then I see different things and whatever. Then I see an ad. I get sucked in because I like marketing and stuff. I'm like, what are they doing? How are they doing it? What are they posting? How are they posting it? How often are they posting it? And I go through all these things and my brain's racing 100 miles an hour. And anytime I get done at the end of the day and however much time I've spent on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, I don't really remember a lot of anything and nothing feels like, I don't feel like I grew. I don't feel like I learned anything. At times I just feel like what a freaking waste of time. And then here and there, there's the sprinkling of a nice smiling face of somebody I know and they've done something cool. And I'm like, all right, awesome. Congratulations. That's super good. And I try to be a little bit intentional, but I find that the resistance is so strong, meaning when I have them, I will go to them and I will easily get sucked into them. These apps are masters. And so I battle of putting them on, putting them off. But most of the time when I put off TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, I don't have an urge to put it back on. And it's because I don't feel like I guess I grow or learn that much. There's at times more quote unquote bad than there is good. And so it seems easier for me to not worry about those, check in here and there and be done with it. But YouTube is this addiction where it's so different because it's so powerful that it definitely, if I'm interested in a topic. So right now, I like learning things about the brain and psychology and all sorts of different therapeutic modalities and just tons of stuff I find very fascinating. I find very interesting. And so as soon as I go click on a video, I will then get, the video I'm watching right below it, there's something that's got a certain title and thumbnail that's related to what I just looked up. And then before you know it, I can go down all these rabbit holes because it has, and they're typically interconnected. And in a lot of ways, I feel like, oh, I'm learning, I'm growing. I'm finding out all these new things. And overall, it can feel good. But here's what I found is that where is the threshold between it being good and it being bad? How do you find the moderation? How much is too much? When it comes to food, usually we more clearly know, I think I've eaten too much. I really don't feel very good in my stomach. And you start, oh God, it doesn't feel good. You might have to do some, extra number twos, whatnot. But the reality is it's very clear I've eaten too much. I cannot eat anymore. I'm no longer hungry. The problem with content is that it's sneakier, it's quieter, it's more challenging to identify. And although people can obviously overeat on the daily and then gain a lot of weight, and it creeps by and all of a sudden they're 50 pounds heavier than they would like to be, that happens for sure, 100%. But here's what I found with the mind. The mind doesn't externally have, there's nothing externally that people can see. You know, I say, if you got 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes, nose, ears, can talk, can speak, you can seem to normally function. You don't have anything outwardly that, you know, people go, oh, I see there's something wrong with you, right? And they know there's something wrong because there's, you know, all sorts of different things going on that we can see. But when it comes to just the average person and the mind, we're really good at putting on a mask. And so we can't easily see when I'm doing work with people. I just had a client that had what I call one of these kind of out of body experiences. One of this, they found their own blind spot. They kind of solved their own problem. And that's what I'm working towards with everybody I work with is not that I have to constantly be like an oxygen tank for somebody. And without me, they're screwed. Like, I do not want to be that for somebody. I want them to want me. I want to be in their corner. I want to support them. And I think that there's always a value in that to some degree, but that's different than I need you and I can't get through the day without you. I can't think without you. I can't solve any problems without you. I need you to solve this. I need you to see this. I can't figure it out. Right. And so he had this breakthrough. It was so incredible over the weekend where he had sent me an audio and you could tell it was kind of depressive. And in the last few days were a little tougher. And then he sent me an audio and I had sent a reply, but he hadn't listened to that reply yet. And then his reply was calm, cool, collected, and as if I figured it out. I figured out what's going on. And he was able to identify it. And that's challenging. We all have our blind spots. Most of us have these things. And I don't care how old you are anymore. More and more every day. This isn't just children. This isn't just high school students. This is just people in college. This is people in their teens or early 20s that are doing this. Go to dinner. Go anywhere. I don't even know where you're at right now. You might be sitting next to your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and you're listening to me. Maybe you got some headphones on, right? But we're all doing this with an asterisk. Means there's some who aren't, but there is an enormous amount who are. And who are addicted to this or something in it or a combination of both. And so, you know, I go, when do I delete? Because when I delete Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, that's all good. Which means, am I really addicted, or is it just a learned behavior that when they're on there, I'll click and then I scroll and then I get sucked in. But when I leave, it's like there's no withdrawals overall. Now, the only withdrawals I have is if I start to post some things. Then all of a sudden I'm like, did people engage? Did people interact? Did people like? And even though like consciously I know better. And I think that's the thing with some of this is it's training our subconscious, because even getting on here, I started to get into the thing again. Well, I want to get on here and talk to these people. I want to help. I want to hope. I want to help one person every day. And then when I'm in my phone and I use it for my actual helping of people, which I wouldn't say this is not actually helping people, but my client work, and there's an audio there and I listen to it and I respond, I can do that all day, every day. No resistance, nothing. Listen, respond, listen, respond. Somebody calls me, answer, respond, right? It's so easy. So why is doing this for me something that I have to overcome? What is it for you that is effortless and easy? And what do you have to overcome? Because talking, anybody who knows me, I ain't got no problem talking. I can get on here, and once I get on here, I can keep going and going and going and going and going, and god dang, I can keep going, right? And so what is it about getting on here that I can go, it's a waste of time? No, you got to, if you don't do this and you don't do that and you don't do this, it's because now unlike when I started my production company way back in the day, and I feel for anybody starting anything today. I mean, heck, it's half the work I do is helping people with their mental health because we can't see it on the outside. So there's things when we're consuming. I'm not consuming food, so I'm not by and large gaining weight. It's not like I can look at the scale and go, dude, you need to slow down, right? And so when I can look at my phone, now this is outside of me, my phone, and I can go into the screen time and go, wow, you spend on average 8 hours a day on the phone. What the heck are you doing on there? Right? And mine's fluctuated depending on what's going on in my life, but that's something still outside of me. So I can see it, but it's not looking at me. Nothing potentially changes. And so I've coined this term at times, content constipation, right? Some people will only ever be a consumer. They'll never be a creator. And some people have become just creators and they don't even hardly consume. And then there's the people who are a combination of both. And what percentage that is, I don't know. I have no idea. What percentage are just consumers, what percentage are just creators, and what percentage are a combination of both. The just creators are probably the smallest amount, the amount of people who will write novels, write books, create, put things out there for people to consume, but yet they don't consume very much are probably the smallest majority. And I bet consumers are the highest. And then the people who sit in the middle, who have this desire, they consume and they're inspired by what they consume. And yet they have this desire to create. But I do believe that to some degree, there is an aspect where at some point in time, we have to release what we consume. We have to do something with it and teach it and share it and use it. Because what I found is that for me, when it comes to, say, recording these videos, and so for me, one of those moments of the Buddha of the blank is that there is a large portion of things that I talk about when I'm on here or when I'm coaching my clients. And a large portion of that is coming from experience. A large portion of it is going, here's what happened. Like I have done and I have tested and I have tweaked or I have whatever. Like it's not a bunch of theoretical, right? It is things I've done. But I've also found that there's a big difference between done and doing. And so what I realized is what I've done in my past 12 years ago and what I'm doing in my present right now can be very dramatically different things. And so one of those things is like, I didn't have a YouTube channel. I wasn't putting out any kind of content or speaking things or inspiring or nothing as a collective whole. And in 2012, I decided to have a local event about a month and a half before I held it. And I had about 80 people show up and I called it the Rock and Life event. And this was before, I guess, social media was what it was today. And I think we were filming Tony Robbins stuff that year and I got inspired to hold my own thing. And, I was getting more and more into this kind of speaking and coaching and, but I wasn't putting out any regular stuff. And I don't think consuming a lot of things. And there definitely wasn't anything I don't think I was consuming about holding a local event. And yet I did it. And in a lot of ways, like, it didn't feel hard. It didn't feel challenging. It didn't feel difficult. And in so many ways, I think that there was things that became difficult in my production company, but the overall initial growth actually wasn't like, I don't recall having a lot of like trauma and challenge and difficulty and struggle. I remember the struggle happening after people died in my life. I remember struggle happening after, I had people irritated with me because I missed a deadline, or sending me nasty emails. Like I remember as I experienced more from what I was experiencing, like doing a lot of things and then having people be responding to those things I'm doing. But it wasn't through content. It wasn't through the internet. It wasn't through social media. That overall wasn't an issue. Now, there were some forums and things back in the day, but they felt very easy to get away from. And I kind of removed myself. I've always removed myself from environments that felt toxic and felt negative. So back in the day, it was these videographer forums, and it felt like there was a lot of people that just complained. And anytime I get around constant complainers, now granted, when I work with people, People might say that they're complaining. They don't want to complain to me. Well, I need people to express themselves. If they have any doubt, if what they're doing isn't working, if what you're doing isn't working, then I believe that there is a power in expression. And I am a safe place to share. I'm a safe place to explore, experiment, share. You're not going to be judged. It's not that. But there's a difference between that kind of relationship I have with somebody because they want to improve. They know that their addiction isn't working. But when you're in this kind of cesspool of the internet, in Facebook groups and forums and these things where there's really no positive leader or curator or moderator, then you just get this, everybody's got their opinion. And, you got people that are they're probably not happy in life because I have a lot of compassion. So I know it hurt people. I really, really, really believe that. But that doesn't mean that I have to be constantly exposed to people who are just outright mean and hateful and negative all the time. There's a blind spot to it, and they're not attempting to do anything. They don't want any help. They think they're always right. I'm not always right. I tell my clients all the time, I don't need to be right. If I've ever said something that is off, that didn't resonate at all, please tell me. You can safely share with me because it's never my intent. My intent is always to help, always to serve, always to be supportive, to care, to help you feel better. So if I've said something that made you not feel good, I want to know because I want to reshift that, recalibrate that, because I want to be a place where people can do that and they know that we can work through it. Because so many times people are afraid to get on here and do what I'm doing right now and keep showing up because of what are people going to say? How are they going to judge me? What are they going to think? I know that inevitably that I am putting certain titles on these videos that people will not even watch, and they are in the real world. And if they know anybody that I know, they're like, Michael's an addict. Did you know he's an addict? And they're going to tell people things and they're not even know what the hell I said. Right? Or I ruined my relationship, and they're not going to listen to the video, and they're not going to, what I said, they're going to go, Michael's relationship's on the rocks. And it's like, but they're not going to hear anything because that's what we do. We just headline read. And so sometimes I put these headlines because I know that it can spark some curiosity and then I can work it in the video. But at the same time, I also realize that by doing that, somebody's going to go around, they're going to see my mom or my dad or my wife's mom, and they're going to say, did you know Michael's an addict? And they're going to be like, no, my God. And they're going to come. And I mean, granted, most of the people in my life are not going to, it is what it is, but I could have some anxiety around putting these kind of things because I know how people tend to work. And they don't listen. They don't, or they hear what they hear. They believe what they believe. I mean, I once had a couple come up to me at a wedding and go, I really wish we could have booked you, but we didn't have $15,000. And I thought, well, who did? Where are they at? Everybody still owes me money because I never booked a $15,000 wedding video in my entire career. And, but yet these people, based on things I'd done and accomplished and whatever, made a persona about me in their mind that said, this guy's really expensive, and not actual prices, but made up ones based on their perception. It's like if I had a Ferrari with like a 2-cylinder engine inside the car. And so everybody assumes, man, this guy's got this rocking, smoking, super fast car. And my car doesn't go any faster than any normal 2-cylinder car because what's in the inside. Right. And so the problem with all this is we don't see what's going on the inside. We don't know how much consuming Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube content, podcasts, all these things are really shaping our minds and who we are and what we do and what we say and how we treat people and how we interact and what we do and don't do. And so it's amazing that when I am not on camera, when I'm not live streaming, when I'm not getting on here to do this, where, you put a title and you can have a thumbnail and all these things. And I just open up my app where my clients are and there's audio sitting there. And then I can click the audio and I can click listen. And I can do this anywhere and everywhere, any day, every day. And I can click play and I can listen and I can respond. And it is literally effortless. There's no anxiety. There's no procrastination. There's nothing. It's just the same as if I was having a conversation right there in person. There's no anxiety around that. I'm not scared. I love that. So what is it for you where there's this anxiety built up? There's this fear built up. There's this angst built up. There's this, I don't know what to do. And I thought, if I'm going to get on here And now for me, so what am I gonna do about my addiction? That's what I should say. Now, what are you gonna do? Well, for me, I continue to delete TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and I'll look at it here and there. Sometimes I'll re-download it, and I'm pretty good about deleting it. But the resistance is real with those things. I would say overall, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok do not affect TikTok the least, Instagram the least, and then Facebook is just where I've been building since 2007. It's where I've got the most volume of people, and if I post, I will get the most level of like interaction. Whereas it just deteriorates from Facebook. But still, when I get off of them, it's not a big deal, and I can check in and here and there, and I feel like it's fairly healthy. Um, and YouTube, I don't have an answer for you yet. Sometimes I feel like I just got to get on here and provide a solution. One of the things I want to continue to do is share so that people don't feel as alone. So people don't feel so shame and like everybody's got their stuff together. It's like, no, I'm a work in progress every single day. And my clients know that when I work with them to the best of my ability. Now, I may share a lot of things through a lens of optimism and positivity, but there's a lot of times I say, I'm saying this for you as much as I'm saying it for me right now, because I'm still working through this. And you know what does happen though? When I tend to work through something at a much higher level, so do my clients. And I have found that in my work as a coach, it's hard but not impossible to take people as deep as you've taken yourself. So if you go tell your client to go it sounds like you maybe need to have a conversation with your mom or your dad, or your best friend. Well, how many conversations do you need to have that you're not having? And then when you look, and this doesn't even have to happen in a coaching client relationship. This can happen if you're a parent and you're telling your kid to do or to not do something. But what do they see you do? Because I do believe that actions speak a lot louder than words. The problem with the internet is nobody knows what my actions actually are. You don't know necessarily the people that you're listening to, the people that you're watching, what their actions actually are until they come out later and they go, oh my God, I'm an addict. And you know what? I've been telling you to stop drinking, but I've actually been drinking for the last 10 years that I've been putting out videos and telling everybody that I don't drink. And then these people, it's because there's so much stress and pressure. Now I'm not. And if you've actually made it this long, thank God I haven't been addicted to any drugs or alcohol. I did this little goofy thing at the beginning. I mean, some people go, what are you on? I've heard that line before. What are you on? I don't have any caffeine. I mean, I primarily drink water like 99% of the time. And when I don't drink water, it's like a virgin daiquiri or something. Apple juice, that's just how I've always been. I worked at a beer distributor when I was like 12 years old and I was alone with alcohol. And yes, I did have some sips. But I hated it. I've always hated it. I don't like it. Just smoking, all that. It's not my thing. I've never had an issue with that. But it's mainly been the phone that this addictive behavior, because I know that in my life, when I've succeeded in business, I've had addictive kind of character traits. I can get very obsessive. I can do things very intensely at times. It's why I've been able to, hold events where some people are like, I've been trying to promote my event for the last year and a half. I can't get anybody to show up. It's like, but I'll do more in 30 days sometimes than some people do in 3 years. It can be very exhausting. It's very unsustainable at times. And I have been practicing moderation. When I went into this year, one of the things that I decided to change, and this is where, I'm practicing just like this, getting on here, because getting on here and believing that the one viewer, the two viewer, if you've made it this far and you've watched every one of my videos, but you haven't liked, you haven't commented, you haven't interacted, you haven't sent me a message, you haven't gone to, the jumpstartyourlife.net, yet. If you haven't gone there yet and you've made it this far, check it out. But if you haven't done these things, I'm going to start doing my best to show up for you. Because I believe there's more people who are going to listen and hear these words. There's more of you listening right now who aren't going to do any of those things. And yet my brain believes you're no one, nobody. Simply because I don't hear your voice. Because I could argue that the voice is more than anything to me. I'm not reacting right now to anything. Now, one of the things that I'm going to play around with is when people submit audios with permission at times, I may or may not turn some of that. I'm not going to have their side or anything else, but I'm playing with ways to be able to create content from you. Um, and because when I react to people's things and I believe that, yes, there is exactly one person who I am making this for, versus right now, somebody's going to listen, somebody's going to be impacted, and you are someone, you are somebody. And I'm training my brain and I want to retrain certain things and rewire in real time with people. Because just like my client, it has taken a lot of audios and a lot of interaction and a lot of time for that person to be able to get to a place to have the super kind of depressive and negative thoughts just constantly eat away and have things that just send down spirals and be able to work through that versus taking them out for 3 months. Now it's maybe a few days. And I want that for you. But I don't think we know how that works. I'm still learning every single day how the brain works, how the mind works, how our psychology works, how the subconscious works, so that I can better understand something that, unlike at the beginning of the year, when I looked at that scale and I said I'm 175, right? And I looked at the scale today and I'm 165. But I immediately went into the extreme. And that's why I say with YouTube and the phone, what am I going to do? I don't know that I'm going to go extreme yet, because I do want to believe, and I've seen it in other areas of my life, that I can moderate. And it's not so bad, at least the YouTube one, because I do feel like I do learn and gain a lot, but I have to watch it because I have to watch what I watch. I have to watch what I'm learning from. Because if I'm learning about how to grow a YouTube channel, then I get fed a lot of things that completely and entirely are the opposite to how I will have the greatest chance of success. And that's what I like to help people do, is give them the greatest chance at succeeding at what it is they want to do. And sometimes that doesn't look like doing anything that anybody's saying that you're supposed to do, because doing what others saying you're supposed to do isn't having you do it. And if you don't do it, it won't work. So what will you do? What will I do? It's a lot easier for me to continue to lean into the resistance and click that button and click start and get on here and doing what I'm doing right now. This is going to benefit somebody more than me attempting to sit here for 30, 40 minutes or longer and really think through, what am I going to do and how am I going to do it and how am I going to say, because that's not how I work. That's not how my life and professionally, video or coaching, has ever freaking worked. And I have to tell myself, this is me more for me than you right now. This is me telling myself that right now, that the success I've had, it doesn't mean I haven't learned. It doesn't mean I haven't observed. It doesn't mean I take no input. I don't want to take it as everybody's the bane of my existence and nobody's been helpful. That's not true. There's been so much that's so helpful, but to the degree that I'm on content overload, I don't know what voice is mine. I don't know what voice is someone else's. So then there's things that I think I want to do, but it's not that I want to do it. It's somewhere in my mind, I believe I'm supposed to do it because someone else said that's how it's supposed to be done. And I had enough momentum in video to know where my voice was versus others. And I slowly but surely took the best of others and the best of me, and it became one. It became just me. And I ignored the majority of other things. And so I realize on here right now that there is an opportunity to moderate. I did it with weight so far this year. Because what was I going to do? I was going to lose weight through the deprivation method. What's the deprivation method? Deprivation is completely deprive myself of all things I truly enjoy and bring me joy. Now, that's what I've done over and over and over again to lose weight, typically. And it's never been sustainable. Because what do? I'm like, oh, belly's getting a little big, a little bit much. And I go, okay, no more carbs, no more ice cream, no more pasta, no more bread, no more nothing. That's it. We're done. And then I'll go on my walks. I don't usually like work out hard and sweat and all these things, but slowly but surely it'll all go off. And then slowly but surely I inch back up, and then I inch. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wow, I'm 175 again. God dang, it's a little bit too much. Let's go on that deprivation diet again. And that's what I've done for like a decade. 10 years. It's like, I don't learn my lesson. I don't figure it out. Right. But this year, I'm like, it's going to be different. And I always joke, I'm like, man, we got this 85 pack of Reese's Pieces. And I'm like, honey, it takes a lot of control. Now, some would say I'm wasting energy and cognitive load on like trying to not eat the whole Reese's Pieces thing, because I could probably eat about 10 at one time, and that'd be quite wonderful. but I've built the habit of I can just have one. And now it by and large doesn't bother me. Like I don't feel an urge to like have 12 at a time. But what are we at? May 20th at the recording of this? I started this in January. January 1st, I went in and I have been able to maintain about 164 to 170, which is really the sweet spot that I like overall. It took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks there, I guess, to drop the 175, get back down to about 170, and then it just kind of teeter totters. And I feel great. And I'm very proud of that. And so one of those things on here is like, do I have enough to say? Absolutely. So what is it for you? Whether it's with writing, whether it's with video, whether it's with photography, editing, what can you do that you're not doing that you do want to do? Because I do want to do this. And it's not that I don't want to do this or I truly think, oh, no one's listening, no one cares. Those thoughts are not as strong as the irritation to the right way to supposedly do it that then has me be very irritated and not want to do it because I I believe that we have to build a habit first before we can improve the habit. So you got to get to the gym, more than a few times before you improve what you do at the gym. And I believe that's for just about anything. So before I can go tweaking and adjusting anything that might improve how many people may see this, I have to just get in the habit of showing up. I have to just get in the habit of the moderation, right? Of eating something, of doing something that isn't so out of control. And so for me, part of that is this aspect where consuming and then creating, right? Putting it in, putting it out, just like in nature. You put it in and it comes out. That's the way it should come out, anyways. And that's healthy. And so for me, I'm an externalizer. I got brain scans a few years ago for ADHD and all these things to really learn why am I going into so much procrastination now? Why am I going into so much overthinking? And I've learned so much, and I want to continue to be a person. I've been given a gift. I've been given a skill to the gift of gab, as people say, but the gift of gab, the ability to talk, the ability to inspire, the ability to encourage, the ability to go off the cusp here and do this. Where some people are like, I wish I could do that, and some people, don't. And this isn't going to be their jam, but this is my jam. And what I found is just like in video, my sweet spot was where I reacted. The thing is, there is plenty for me to react on here. And really, it's once I get going, I can express and share. And some people won't be able to follow it all. And they'll be like, this guy is all over the place and super confusing. And some are going to go, please keep being that. Please keep doing that. Please keep showing up. And so, but I don't get the opportunity to have anybody say anything if all I'm thinking about is, well, I'm supposed to title it this way. Should I say this or should I say that? Not knowing that I was going to hit a few different topics today, cover a few different things, and just let it flow. Because once I do that, once I start reacting, I can keep going. So if I remove the part right now that is causing the resistance, what's causing the resistance? Worrying about titles, worrying about thumbnails, worrying about the certain structure that the video is supposed to have, that I'm supposed to go for a certain amount of time. I'm supposed to make a certain amount of points. I'm supposed to wrap it up. And you're seeing this more and more. And yes, on certain aspects, the world doesn't care about you. They care about them. Are you helping them? And you see these channels, I keep seeing things come up over and over and over again of people who built big followings, doing things in very kind of rigid ways with the niche down, talk on a specific thing. It all works. And then when they've decided that they no longer are interested in that, they no longer want to do that, they're no longer excited about that. The ones who don't decide to just completely never upload again, but they decide to break the mold and do something different, talk about what they want to talk about, do what they want to do. It feels like there's an existential crisis in their mind. I know there is for me at times, but at the same time, there's a lighterness about these people. I think that to a degree, there's a more happiness about these people. Because I think the worst thing that can happen to somebody is they succeed at something they don't like. And then they feel the need to keep it going. And some will tell you, well, you'll end up liking it. Well, I don't know about that. There's many a thing that, like, I might do all the time, but it doesn't mean I ever have figured out how to shift my brain to like it. I think over time it just might become numb if it's necessary. Like I believe it's good for me to brush my teeth every day, but like at the same time, I mean, I guess I don't really think about it. It's kind of neutral. So I wouldn't say I don't like brushing my teeth or I like brushing my teeth. It's just I have trained myself to brush my teeth every day, and I go through the motions. I brush my teeth and I move on. I don't think I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't get into any thought processes of overthinking, overanalyzing. I'm bringing it up right now because I know that there was a time where I remember filming some weddings. They're like, your mouth kind of stinks, man. Full transparency, right? TMI. But like, I was like, oh my God. And that maybe put me over the edge. Like, maybe I should brush my teeth a little bit more. Not that I went weeks without doing it, but there's certain things for me that aren't an everyday. And that's what I find about people who are neurodivergent is they seem to lean, not that anybody can't not take a shower every day or not brush their teeth every day because anybody can't, but there are things that, can tend to be a little bit more challenging at times for those that brains are a little bit different than the normal, who find it harder to do things consistently. Because I think that's the thing I'm learning more and more about neurodivergence versus neurotypical is neurotypicals can get into habits and do things more regularly, more easily. Whereas someone who's neurodivergent, the consistency is hard because we really oscillate with feelings. And so I don't feel like doing it. Well, it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of like what's important. And I tell myself and I tell others it's important for me to inspire and to encourage and to motivate and to uplift other people. And I do that in private all day, every day, pretty much. But I've had so much positive feedback through the decade that I have on and off put videos like this up. And the times I've stopped is because I make it about things that matter but don't. Because I say this again, I have very rarely had anything that just endlessly has 0 views. I'd say most things for a long time have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 views, which means that help one person every day outside of what I do in private, but on here, that means there is someone. That means there is you right now who is hearing this. And again, you may not be visible to me, but that doesn't mean that you don't matter. And I think that's the new mantra I'm telling myself. It's just because it is invisible right now doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean it doesn't matter. And that's the same thing that's happening in our minds. Just because I can't look down at a scale and see that I've gained weight doesn't mean that there isn't too much of this that I've consumed and it's not, it's doing something to my mind. It's affecting me. And one of those is that even though my conscious mind knows, just get on here and just do it, there is resistance. And so I have to overcome that by clicking that button and starting, by clicking that button and speaking, right? Because as soon as I find my mind like on autopilot, thinking about the title, thinking about the thumbnail, thinking about the thing, I get out of the flow, it gets out of the fun, and then I don't want to do it. And I'll say I'll do it later, and I typically don't. And so I'm starting to tell myself that for all those people right now, if you've made it to the end of this video, you've watched every word, you've listened to every word, but you haven't liked, maybe you could, but that you are someone and you matter. And I know that there's a lot of people, including myself, I do better when somebody I feel has made an impact on me. I do my best to send them a message or to leave a comment or to leave a like, but I'm still not great. And I feel that there's more lurkers than likers. And because of that, there's a lot of people who stop, especially those like me who really love, I guess at the end of the day, to be validated at times, to know when I react to an individual human being, I know that that individual human being is going to hear that message and respond. But when there is not an individual human being that I am responding to in the moment where I am hearing them and then responding to them like this is me having an idea and a spark, how this all started this morning. I had a spark. I'm an addict, right? And I get on here and I do this whole little spiel. This was me reacting to me, right? This wasn't me hearing someone's voice for 5 minutes and then responding to that and making this video. So I'm responding to an individual. This is responding to me. This is a message to me, to you, for me, for you, for us. And ultimately, you matter. And I want you to know that you matter. And I want to tell myself that even though There might not be a reaction to someone. There might not be a like or a comment or something there. That if there's views and I can look at that retention and go, people watch this, people heard these words. It made an impact on somebody. Somebody's coming back. YouTube tells me somebody's coming back. There's definitely more people coming back than there are people saying something, speaking up. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe you don't know what to do or what to share right now because you feel so much shame, you feel so much guilt, you're scared, and no one's there to support you, and you're not quite sure that you can even send me something and say something because you're not quite sure how I'll respond. Then I want to keep showing up so you can see how I respond, you can see how I think, you can see how I help, you can see how I share, and you can see that I care. So jumpstartyourlife.net. No, but right now that there's no cost to that. You can send a voice message, 5 minutes, tell me your story, express yourself, share. You'll get a response back. There's no heavy-handed sales pitches or anything. I sell one-on-one coaching, but that's it. I mean, courses, programs, my audiobooks are free. These videos are free. I'm gonna put out as much as I can to support those who don't have the money, and be here and give you these as regularly as I can. And I'm gonna start practicing more and more every day to say hello, to support you, to give you that pep talk, to give you the Gebs juice. And when you're ready, I'll be here at jumpstartyourlife.net to send me an audio, tell me your story, and I'll respond back. And then we'll take it from there. If you want to go deeper, we can figure what that looks like, but there'll be no pressure. You'll receive a video back from me, a response to your audio within 1 to 3 days, excluding weekends, and we'll go from there. So I'm sending you tons of love. This is Michael Gebben. I'm an addict. And I'm working on it every single day. So much love, my friends. I appreciate you so much. Have an incredible week ahead. You'll see me again soon. Rock and roll.